my name is Justin Bright, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program version 1.3, in which I am attempting to make Kerbals a multiplanetary species. Now, where we left off, I was having a lot of trouble figuring out exactly why my Red Sands refinery, which you see here in all of its lumpy glory, was having trouble with power supply. Oops, and now I'm sliding through these colliders. That's pretty nice. And I was positing, anyways, that it was a matter of throughput of the, what do you call it, the microwave transceiver, perhaps, that was causing the issue, the microwave power transceivers. But I'm not sure that that's actually the case. That would not actually comport with the way that pretty much anything else works in MKS. He doesn't, as far as I know, none of the parts like really have issues with throughput. Like logistics never has issues with throughput, I should say. Like actually constructing things, building things, all that does. However, logistics does not seem to, and I think I'm correct, because what I've done now is we've hooked up the GeoRover directly to the Red Sands refinery to take advantage of the fact that I have these lovely multi-hub trusses all around, and above them are actually empty spaces that I can attach these big 6,000 electric charge batteries. So I've made 6 of these, and I've kind of tacked them all up on the top here to go along with this one, to bring my total electric charge from something like 10,000 to something like 50,000, because each of these is about 6,000 apiece. And this works because we were able to use this inflatable workshop, and there's a little button on each of these whenever you have them attached to something with a workshop that says favor inventory, and that allows you to flag that particular bit as the place where you want manufactured items to go. So that means that I was able to very easily get these battery packs transported around this vessel and tacked up to the top. Now, if you've been watching up here in the electric charge section, you may have noticed that the electric charge is dropping just as precipitously as it was before. However, now it's actually jumping right back up before it gets down too far. So it seems to drop about 6,000, 7,000 electric charge, and then it bounces right back up because it is over halfway empty. And that toggles, I believe, the logistics algorithm to say, hey, I need more electricity in this particular vessel. Can I pull some from the PDU? And then it actually goes and grabs some from the power station, which is over here, which is able to now run at very high power levels. It's able to grab a big chunk of power, transport it over. This reactor cranks up to maximum speed and fills up its own set of batteries, but then the it's left to charge up, and then this thing has enough to actually keep running at maximum speed. So I think that we've done it. I think that we've got that fixed, which is awesome. So that should work. We may need to be very cognizant of the battery levels of the other factory bits that we have here, because I'm not sure, because this one definitely did not have the battery capacity to do what it needed to do here. I definitely needed to go in and make these additional ones, which cost me some specialized parts, which I am running dangerously low of. I know I have specialized parts like somewhere. I'm just not 100% sure where they all are. So that's something that we're going to have to work on getting. We are pretty close to being able to, I think, actually create specialized parts from nothing. Or not from nothing, from raw materials, I should say. We should be pretty close to being able to do that, which is going to be awesome. But we are going to need to go ahead and get a couple more things built up and set up before I can be certain that we are safe. Oops, and actually even before I do that, I need to jump back out and... Yeah, I need to make sure that we are going to be able to actually run all of our facilities, that we have enough materials for everything before I really start worrying about all the individual little bits. But that every little thing works, because, you know, I get it in my head that I want to make sure everything is running simultaneously. It's all working before I can turn it on and move on with my life. However, we really need to kind of triage the materials that we have left. We are not currently in a position where I can make more specialized parts, so we need to be very certain that we are creating what we need in the order that we need them without any waste. So let's see what's left. We should have just a couple more things. Let me actually take a look. I can drive over there, and then we can see what is next. All right, so it's time again to get this, get the ship all linked up, the Geo rover all linked up and ready to start construction once again. So we get all that hooked up, very nice. We now have another 54,000 material kits, so we can build one of the final 3. So we have in the vicinity, it looks like we just have 3 things left. If we look at our construction window, we can see that here is the Duna Foundry all the way over there. This one is the refueling station, and over there is something. Not 100% sure what that one is, so we'll figure that out when we get to it. I've landed a lot of things, and it's been many months since I've actually landed everything, so it's a lovely little surprise every time that I open up one of these. But that's fine. We are moving this right along. So the Duna Foundry is what we are actually using to make ship bits. So that's going to be something that has the... let's go ahead and get things deployed while we're sitting here. The Duna Foundry is going to be what's creating material kits. It's going to be doing lots of the big processing for the largest facilities and so forth. And the refueling station is exactly what it says on the tin. That's going to be the base facility that is going to be creating liquid fuel and oxidizer here on the surface. Yeah, so that should be most of our stuff. I think what this one might be over here is actually the double scorpion constructor bot, which I have not had any real use for so far. It's because everything's already built in place, so I don't really need to move stuff, which is nice. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what use case I would have for actually picking up and moving things around, like literally picking them up and moving them, but I can't really imagine what that would be quite yet. So anyways, yeah, as we're building these things out, we are getting to the point where I think we've kind of seen everything, right? Like, we've seen how this works, we've troubleshooted some issues, we've seen how things kind of get fixed. I've saved my game a bunch of times, so hopefully this should not blow up or break or do something bizarre. It should just shove that along, right? I have no idea. Yeah, it looks like they're pushing on each other anyways, like they're not just kind of merging into the same entity, and I can go get that blown up here in a second anyways. We're moving right along. We're getting these things built. We're getting pretty close to done, and we've, like I said, we've kind of seen everything that we need to see. Like, we've experienced all the things at least once, so I don't need to kind of go through all of the nitty-gritty of this. So I may kind of scooch on ahead to getting this stuff all kind of fixed up, because once all of these base facilities are built, I'm going to want to figure out a good way to like kind of shake out test everything, right? Because before we actually bring anybody else down to the surface, before we really start colonizing Duna here, we are going to very much want to fall right over. No, that's not what we want to do. We're very much going to want to test out all of our facilities to make sure that things work the way that they are supposed to. And if there's anything that we need to bring back from Kerbin, we will want to do that at that time and bring things kind of along with the colonization ship, as opposed to sending stuff back and forth while we're in this initial construction phase, because that is the purpose of this whole endeavor, is to make sure that all of these structures work, all of the facilities are creating materials, the power facilities are working, everything else. So looks like these are getting fixed to the ground and ready for the construction, which is very nice. I'm glad that that continues on even while I send Calgeld Kerbin running across the Duna landscape. Let's see, what do we have in here? Probably nothing useful anymore. Just a little bit of ore, a little bit of monopropellant. That's fine, nobody cares. Can I just transfer? And the other lander bit has been fixed to the ground. But yeah, once again, I'm just trying to get rid of some stuff, making sure that ooh, where are you going? Recycle. I'll save my game first, don't you trick me. But yeah, I'm trying to make sure that this game runs as quickly as it possibly can, even in the presence of all these facilities. So we are going to be recycling stuff. And cool, looks like we did actually get all of the material kits. I was a little bit worried that some were going to poof. And I definitely want to blow this stack separator up. Please don't fly up into the air or anything weird. Neat. Cool. So that's blown up. That looks like nothing so much as a giant like sardine tin. I need to blow that one up, but that's kind of a long walk. That's fine, and we should have a little bit less weight, and I should be able to, a little bit more capable of flying around. So yeah, that's kind of my plan for now, is to see what I can do as far as shaking these things out and getting them prepared for our colonists, which will be coming in a future episode. Maybe that'll be what I end up doing for the 100th episode and so forth, is showing off that launch of finally some new stuff. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, actually, if there's anything that you guys can think of that would be neat for me to do as kind of a celebration, because I've been doing this now for over a year, right? So that's kind of crazy. Like, I can't believe that it's been so long. Like, I'm seeing in my Facebook feed my first couple of episodes that I was posting and sharing with friends. So that's cool. I've really enjoyed this. This has been such a fun experience. And I'm glad that you guys are kind of along for the ride with me. This has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that you guys seem to as well. So in any case, I am going to get this built, and then we will do the walkthroughs of the new facilities when they're all done. Alright, so this burly thing is the Duna Foundry. So this is going to be used to actually do a lot of the processing of the minerals that we have from the raw resources into the final products. Can you knock it off the ground? What do you have in your inventory? Oh, one pipe and all of a sudden you're too heavy. Jump. There you go, grab. Okay, so we are climbing in, sort of, kind of, very slowly. I've started actually yanking out some of my visual mods because this game is just grinding to a halt. It's getting harder and harder to actually play in this little area, which should not be terribly surprising given how much stuff we've got going on and how many like conversions and everything else that we have going on here. So we are just deploying our habitation facilities. Fantastic, using up another 16,000 material kits, which is the other big expenditure of those that we have. We have some things I'm gonna have to deploy over on that side as well. Alright, so we are once again back on the front after having expanded all the bits, so let's go ahead and board the Duna Foundry and we can take a look at what we have here. So we have these workshops, that we have inflated on the side. We also have a whole bunch of inflatable storage to help us with the processing and the logistics of moving these resources into this vessel and back out again, because we're dealing with a lot of the raw materials coming in and then the finished materials going out. Come on, deploy, please, and thank you. Excellent. Deploy. Don't have to actually turn the lights on, but deploy. Yeah, so... Okay, so with the lights all deployed, let's go ahead and get our radar dish extended so that has its good connection and so forth. And then we check on our PDU, and that's all connected. Very nice. I'm noticing we only have 17,000 electric charge on this one as well, and that was a problem for one of our other vessels, so we may need to create and attach additional batteries, but that should not be too much of a problem on this vessel, if only because it has it has workshops. I can actually do that here instead of in the Geo Rover and then do weird connection attachment things. This can do its own work, but let's activate these radiators, make sure that we are dissipating any heat that we are generating. We do have some nice big batteries there, which is fantastic, but yeah, we are going to be needing to make sure that this thing can deal with the throughput of power that we will have, because this thing has drills, it has production facilities and all that. So let's go through it from the front. So at the entrance we have our habitation quarters and our habitation common area. Cupola up here to extend that life a little bit, and then in the main hub of this facility we have our industrial refinery, which will take chemical, silicon, and refined exotics, and then we have, I do believe, come on, an assembly plant that is going to be making material kits, machinery, and specialized parts. Over attached on the side here, we have some big, hefty material processing units that is going to be our efficiency parts for that. Then we have our normal Pioneer Logistics Tower, command pod, that sort of thing, lots of storage. We have this KIS container, which I'm pretty excited about finally having, because we can use this, favor the inventory, and that's where I want kind of all the stuff to go by default, and that's going to give us the best possible or the biggest possible things we can produce. That means we can produce things that would fit inside here, which is most parts, since this is in fact a 5-meter container, so that's about as big as it's going to get. This one also, as you can see, has kind of suctioned up all of the material kits from the various vessels in the area using a local warehouse. So this thing is going to be able to carry a huge amount of material kits because it produces them, and that's going to be kind of the big warehouse for that. Up here we have storage for machinery, specialized parts, that sort of stuff. Coming through the main barrel we have, yep, that's a logistics tower, and then this is just kind of our storage network area, and then the actual workshops, which are going to be efficiency parts for the main assembly plant here. So theoretically that should fill out that chain of production. All right, and here we have the refueling station, which is exactly what it sounds like. Primarily, it is going to use these carbonite drills to manufacture fuel, to the surprise of no one. Okay, so this thing has lots of... this has kind of the same construct as the previous, the Duna Foundry, with the habitation quarters and the common up front. It has a little extra mulch storage for long-term habitation here. Cupola to increase that sort of production time. Pioneered logistics module out here in the front instead of in the normal tower configuration that I've had previously. This is the training academy, so this is actually going to be used as kind of a hub for colonists that come down. So the refueling module is going to be a, how to put it, it's going to be like a spaceport, basically, where new arrivals are going to come. They can gather their experience there, train underneath the more experienced carbonauts, that sort of thing. New ships will have to be, any ships that are landing are going to be coming by and using these big, huge liquid fuel and oxidizer tanks, monopropellant tanks, carbonite and ore tanks, although I won't be using ore that much anymore for refueling, I suppose, to refuel, get ready to move on once again. And this has a container of colony supplies as well. So let's go ahead, get the radiators active. This thing once again has a PDU, which is lovely, just lovely. Monopropellant tanks. It's got these mobile material processing units, which will actually be used as material processing units. We have 4 configured to LFO and 2 to monopropellant to provide that at a fairly fast pace. And that's all there really is with this one. It's fairly simple. We still need to send people around to do the... we need to move machinery around and do some other messing about with that to get everything absolutely active. But we have 1 or 2 more things to build, so we're going to get to that before I finish up and get everything running. I think the best way for us to... Oh, and this is definitely going to need batteries. Good lord. Yeah, that's kind of a pain in the butt, but that's something that we're going to have to deal with. That's something that I did not really think about. That's something that I provided tons of space for producing fuel and oxidizer and everything else, and nice long-term storage for those things, but nothing for electric charge, because it didn't occur to me that that would work in the same catch-up mechanic as everything else. So what do? These are the kind of learnings that we're going for here. Okay, so here we have the last bit of construction that we are going to be doing here on Duna, at least for now. We have done everything I believe that we can, and everything should be constructed. How wonderful would that be for us to actually be done, right? But this is the double Scorpion Constructor, which is, well, kind of exactly what it sounds like. It is going to be the double-size Scorpion flavored you know, crawler assembly bot thinger. Yeah, words. Anyways, it is the vessel that we are going to be using to move stuff around if we need to. And I don't actually... Do I not have... Oh gosh, does this not have control? Don't I have brakes? Okay, I don't know what stopped this thing over here, but I am happy that it stopped. Oh, I'm going to hit the ground, and then I'm going to roll. Kaboom! Ooh, ragdolled a little bit. Ka-thump, ka-thump, ka-thump. Okay, well, I forgot to put an antenna on it, I think, is what the issue is here. So I'm going to try real hard to get around into this command seat, at which point I should have some semblance of control, which would be lovely. So, anyways, board, yes. Okay, do I have control? I appear to have control. All right. That was incredibly silly. I appear to have forgotten to put some kind of antenna on here, so we're going to just go ahead and add that to the list of things. I guess I assumed that this would have, this radial probe would have some kind of signal whatever and be able to communicate that way, but that seems to not be the case. So anyways, this is something that I intend to use to do any construction that we have to do, any moving of parts. Alright, there's still stuff stuck in the air, that's cool. So for example, there is a bit left over on our in this piece of debris over here, which I would like to kind of grab onto if possible. So I'm going to drive this over there. We're going to do that. But anyways, the construction that we have been working on is pretty much finished. So as I'm driving around, and as I am driving around, you may notice that things are running now incredibly smooth. So I have not changed my install, as I may have mentioned in previous segments of this video, but what I have done is upgraded my computer quite a bit. I got a brand new motherboard, brand new CPU, brand new RAM, all kind of top of the line-ish stuff, pretty close. That's really good stuff. So it's made a pretty dramatic difference in being able to run the game. So yeah, things are running really very smoothly now, where before they really weren't. So yeah, we're in pretty good shape as far as that's concerned. But we have just about everything finished up. I am crawling up this hill. It's a pretty steep grade, but this thing is not a zippy little thing, that is for sure. But what I'd like to do at this point is maybe, if I could, just get this thing picked up and move it over, because I have some plans here. Because I left some tools that I actually should have brought with me. There, that thing smacks up against the bottom, and I can carry it with me. Fantastic. Turn that magnet strength up so it does not move. Perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping to be able to do with this thing. Ha! That's really cool. Okay, so now I can pick up and move things, and I'm actually planning on taking this kind of apart. But this is the last little bit of supplies and so forth that we have that we have left out. So most of the garbage has been cleaned up. I've spent a couple of hours going to each base, filling them up with machinery, getting the material kits where they needed to be, finishing up the last bits of construction. What I think we actually need to do now, before we kind of activate all these bases, is we need to realize that we can't actually activate most of these bases because we don't have the personnel here. One thing that I have realized is logistics, I believe, requires you to have a pilot or a quartermaster to push resources, I think. Pretty sure that's the case. Pull. To pull resources, you need to have a quartermaster or a pilot. To push resources, you can do with automated resource modules, I believe. Okay, so let's drop this slowly. Lower that magnet strength. There we go. Disable magnet. Beautiful. Awesome. Cool. So that's where I want that. I just wanted to move this over here for a moment because I wanted to do a little bit of construction and deconstruction here. So while you guys are over here inside the workshop, why don't you make me some explosives? 2 explosives, please and thank you. Boop. Boop. Explosives. Wonderful. Because we want to get rid of some of this stuff. So we can close this, We're done with the construction. Fabulous. Let's transfer out this material kits with local logistics. Here, give me some supplies, would you please? And take our mulch. We're going to take the material kits and move that over, and the specialized parts can stay on this vessel. But that means that this thing is now empty and can be blown up. What's going on over here? Yeah, I may also have actually blown one of these up accidentally. That's my bad. What is going on with you? Okay, so the brakes seem to stay on when I leave the vessel. That's pretty good. So, what I want to do is we have some things for explodings. Alright, what I wanted to do with this is actually get this detached. Let me see, is there anything in it still? Yes, there is one mini habitation module, which, I mean, I guess I could use. I'm not sure what I would use that for, but... Oh, how big is this? 1,000 liters, so that I don't have anything that I could fit in at the moment. Okay, so one thing at a time. First of all, I want to disconnect and blow up this, this thing here. This empty container, because I've got most of these taken down at this point. Okay, we got our explosives ready. This thing is all empty, so we can now recycle this vessel by grabbing this, attach, and recycle vessel. Kaboom! There we go. Got a couple extra material kits dumped into probably the supply crawler. Wonderful. Now, that being done, I can do the second thing, which is to blow up this little extra container, because once again, we need to clear as much of this stuff as we possibly can. Disassemble, disassemble, there we go. That is empty, and this thing is freaking me out still. Now, this thing, actually, the double scorpion is, I need to do some part construction on it, but that should be okay. One of the things that we're going to do is I have a couple things to make, so I think we're all going to head over to the Foundry. Oops, I actually need to click board. There we go. We're going to head over to the Foundry where I have the large KIS container all set up so that I can do some of that construction. Alternatively, actually, now that I think about it, I could even use... Whoa, slow it down, please. Bonk. This thing does not break great, but that's fine. Okay. We're close enough so that the radius of extra lifting capacity is there, so I can actually do KAS assembly and disassembly and that sort of thing. I think should be quite good enough from here. Yes, wonderful. Because I'd love to get it up on top here. All right, looks like I could just surface attach. And there you go. Now it's bolted to the top, and I have KIS container storage attached to this thing that I can move around. Fabulous. And one less individual thing. But now there's actually KIS storage and a workshop, because this is a mobile workshop. So I could actually theoretically, probably, yep, 5,000 liters that I'm able to create, which is going to let me make the big batteries, which we need for a couple things, because I'm still having that power transfer problem on a couple of my base bits, and I need to rebuild a inflatable storage module. Is that something that I can make? Yes, I can. That's fantastic. So yeah, we can actually build from within this, which is pretty darn great, because that's going to let me kind of drive around and do stuff, which is awesome. Because this has 2,000 liters. 2,000 liters? How can I build up to 5,000 liters? Do I have more KIS storage somewhere that I'm not aware of? Oh, look at that. There's 5,000 individual liters in various places, which is pretty darn cool. But I am going to... Maybe when I reload, it'll let me... Favor inventory? Yeah, it'll be when I reload this thing. It'll let me favor the inventory on this KIS container so that I always know where stuff is. So yeah, that's the idea there. And the Scorpion Constructor has kind of done its job as far as that's concerned. I'm just going to have this on hand just in case I need it. But we have a couple things we need to build. So I need to rebuild this because I accidentally destroyed a piece like a dingus. I need to put an antenna on this so it can be used remotely. And some batteries, a couple other things of that nature, and then we should be good to go. Alright, we are packing up the Geo Rover because it is no longer necessary to use for all of the different things that we have planned so far, or going forward, I should say. So we can actually use this as a transport. And we will use that to bring some folks back down to the botany lab, which is where our our crew is going to be primarily based. So we are going to send them down here, then we're going to send the caribou up to the Foundry, which is where most of our material kits are, and then we are going to manufacture the things that we need, and then we can start getting ready to hunker down for the duration, because what comes next after all of this is we are going to be sending out the next set of crew. So we need quartermasters at all of our bases, just as a matter of course, to make sure that we can actually transfer materials both in and out of the various base modules, because I only have a couple pilots at the moment, so we need to make sure that we have everybody that we need to run the facilities. And so the next wave of colonists is going to just be a handful of more of the intrepid and hardy type. And with that, they are going to actually start getting the place ready and getting everything activated for colonists to arrive. So there's going to be a couple phases. So this has been, we're going to call it phase 1. And phase 1 has included the getting all of the base structures built, just building everything out, getting it all there and ready to go, assembled and prepared for moving on. So this is just the skeleton crew, the absolute bare minimum that we need for this crew to be able to actually survive here on Duna. And so that is mostly finished. Phase 2 is going to be actually running the base a little bit. We are going to be having engineers in all places. We're going to have quartermasters in all places. We're going to have medics. We're going to have biologists, etc., etc., etc. We're going to have the people that we need to make this place go. That's going to be phase 2, is going to be running with a just enough crew to actually support all of the base facilities. And then the final phase 3, is going to include bringing all of the that's when we're going to start bringing the colonists in, just the regular generic colonists, and we're going to start bringing as many people over as we possibly can, and that is going to constitute kind of our end game here. So that's what we're going for. We're going for, you know, mass colonization, and that's what that's going to look like. So you are an engineer, Katie Kerman, I do believe. So you're going to hang out, and I think you're going to go with, yeah, you're going to come out. I'm going to bring the supply rover down. Yeah, so that's what that's going to look like is, ooh, is this too heavy up in the front? Can I not drive anymore? Am I squished? Oh, it had the ground tether on. Holy crap, no wonder it wasn't moving. Wait. Stop. Okay. Well, that explains a lot. I had the ground tether on, probably on something that it was connected to. The rover was connected to, and it stayed on. And that's why it was kind of wigging out, because I was moving it, but it was ground tethered, etc., etc. So let's try getting this thing attached one more time, now that there's no ground tether keeping me from moving. Okay, yeah, it drives just fine. Gosh. Okay, this is fine. So let's just turn. Okay, cool. So now we're heading back down. Let's see, what do I have? Do I have a full load of material kits? No, I am almost out of material kits. So we are going to drive down to the botany lab. I'm going to pick up Katie Kerman, who is driving the crane, and then we are going to head up to the forge, the foundry that is, and from there we are going to make the last couple of things that we need. Alright, so we're just going to run through everything just real quick as I evacuate all of the larger parts of my base, having checked them and know that they work, like the Red Sands refinery here, which is going to be used to transmute all of our raw materials into advanced materials. We have shut this base down, but we do know that it works. So it's drawing just a minimum of power, and we're also going to shut down, for the most part, the power station. And it is actually, this nuclear reactor seems to be running just fine on its own, and the PDU is transferring power on its own. I've checked using by taking a look at this. Once I have all of my personnel outside, it looks like the power is transferring just fine without anybody involved. So now I just need to have Jorzy Kerman here rejoin the rest of the crew, and that way they can all live in one big happy area together without having to spread out the supplies between multiple bases. Alright, and since we are in fact done with this material kit container, we can transfer the materials out of it into the Caribou Supply Crawler. Other way, there you go. And then I can blow this thing up. I am reclaiming my memory. And attach. And recycle vessel. Boom. Great. Yet another thing that I don't have to worry about going forward. Okay, so before I take off, let's just check and see if there's anything tasty that I need to grab. And so look, there's some supplies that I can take, some mulch that we'll take with us. The ore is not going to be useful, but there are some material kits on the power station as well. Red Sands Refinery, once again, has some recyclables and some individual processed material bits, or stuff we dug up out of the ground, couple material kits, that sort of thing. Fabulous. So we have all the materials and everything that we need, and all of the personnel from our two polar bases, the power station and the Red Sands Refinery. The power station is going to work just fine without any crew in it. That can work automated, which is just awesome, because even though he would have Jorzy Kerman would have had plenty of habitation time. I think he was actually up to indefinite in here, and he could have had plenty of supplies to last him through the time that he was here, because theoretically I think he should have been able to pull supplies from local logistics, but that's, you know, a dicey way to test that. Anyways, he probably would have been fine in there, but I don't like the idea of, you know, leaving one Kerbal far away from everybody else, you know? I want them to all be able to live together, work together, so that they don't go crazy here on the base. They have, we're going to be spanning two bases, and I have confirmed that the habitation and so forth do span between the two, but we are not going to go any further than that, because I want them to live in their little compound together over the course of two bases, so they have plenty of room to spread out, but that they're close enough that they can be living and working together. Alright, so next up we have the refueling station, which is, you know, exactly what it sounds like. I would like to repaint this because we have a different set of, how to put it, I've had to rethink and rebuild and redesign a whole lot of my refueling infrastructure for vessels that will be coming down, but we'll get to that in a little bit. I will talk through that. But the refueling base does not do anything that the rest of the folks need. This is actually just going to be the supply center for incoming vessels, so we don't need to leave anybody there. The Duna Foundry is similarly going to be just used to, you know, build stuff. I mean, yeah, it's just advanced construction of the end game materials. The one thing that this has that is important is all of the tasty material kits. So I am definitely going to be loading up on that on my way out of here before I do my last set of construction of the little pieces. That way I can actually build them down here where they need to eventually go. So let's do what we did before and check and see what has what as far as resources left over are concerned. Duna Foundry has all the material kits, so I'll just grab a big load of that. And all of these specialized parts, fantastic. We need that too. Whoa, what are you doing? Hold on. Turn off local warehouse. Well, actually, I need local warehouse on eventually. Okay, we're okay. Okay, we're okay. I've got all the specialized parts over here. That's going to let us build stuff because the workshop is what uses up specialized parts. A little bit of mulch, a little bit of other little bits and pieces. Most of the stuff is just manufacturing extra shavings and things like that. No supplies or anything, but this does hold the lion's share of the remaining material kits in this gigantic container here. So that's something that we just need to keep in mind. But other than that, this area, this is the, what is this? This is the lowlands, yes. So these are the lowlands bases, and they are empty of materials, extra spare bits, and also any Kerbals. So all of our, everything that we need is heading down to our final destination, the last place, and the place that we are going to be doing our living and working for the foreseeable future. And what that is going to include, like I said, there's going to be a couple phases, and each phase is going to be marked by another transfer of a vessel from Kerbin to Duna. So this is going to be a different sort of thing where instead of doing all of this intensive work in real time on these bases, we're going, like, because this has been, look, like the Met timer is like 2 days. I am going to be time warping for, like, I don't know, however long it is in between transfers to show you just the important bits. So yeah, we're going to be working our way towards getting that all completed, which is really cool. I think I'm really excited to get this all up and running. All right, so let's park that there and let's do some building. Actually, I am going to recycle this mini habitation module because I don't need it. And that's also going to save me some space, which is wonderful. See, because this now has the full 2,000 liters that I need. Okay, so first things first, I want to build a inflatable storage module. So now that's building. We will save our game. We're building and recycling, and now it's just, you know, waiting till it's finished. Okay, so that construction was finally finished. So now we have a inflatable storage module packed up, and yeah, the other thing recycled. Wonderful, fantastic. The various things that this thing can have equipped is not very important now, but it will be. Because as I understand it, the local logistics attach. Please tell me you did not attach correctly. Because as I understand it, the various, or not the various, but the rovers can act as local logistics carriers between different vessels. So as I understand it, that means that I'm going to be able to, and this is kind of what I'm counting on, use that instead of local or planetary logistics to move all of my stuff around in between the different bases. And that means I'm going to have storage on this rover to facilitate that. What do I want this to carry? Polymers, exotics. Doesn't super matter, I suppose, at the moment. Here, fertilizer, that's fine. So, that being done, let's see what else. What else can I build? What else do I need? I need batteries, that's right. Big batteries, because we have two things here. Now let's take a look at these bases. We have Duna Central, which has a huge amount of habitation time on it because it has all these cupolas, oops, which weren't even on. Cupola, start habitat, huzzah. Kerbitat, these are activated, and this one takes water, which I don't have, but that's fine. Start Hab Common. Actually, no, do not start Hab Common because that takes a huge amount of power, and that's what I needed the batteries for. That's right, because this thing only has about 7,000 electric charge, And it is going to take more than that because of the way that we've determined that power transfer works. It's as a percentage, and if it goes down too fast, which it will if I have the hab commons on, so that takes 5. Start hab common 5.95. Maybe it's not that big of a deal, huh? Colony supplies 6.0. Okay, so maybe this works. Maybe this works just fine. Yeah, it seems to be transferring in power at a fair clip. So yeah, that's not a big deal. We don't need to attach any batteries just because this does not use that much as it is. So that's what this one is. Duna Central is basically pure living space. And the botany lab is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a little bit hard to see in the dust storm that's happening again, but we have tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of agricultural modules. This is something that we may need to add some batteries to. But yeah, because yeah, once I start activating these things, we are going to start seeing those numbers go down pretty darn fast. But as it stands right now with hab common, hab quarters, hab common. Yeah, with all of that and this drill going, which is getting gypsum and turning gypsum into where is it? Into fertilizer. So we are actually making fertilizer over here. With that production and all of the habitation, we should theoretically be able to convert where it actually is agricultural module. We have cultivate and agriculture. Where's my agroponics? We do need crew. Okay, so we've got someone in the agricultural module in the agroponics bay, which is creating supplies. Huzzah! So there we go with that. We are creating fertilizer, using up the mulch, turning that into supplies. So this is going to keep everybody full on supplies for the duration, I hope. I sincerely hope. So what I can do is start building one of those batteries. Open the workbench. Power. Great big battery. Great big battery. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like these actually build while I am not focused on the vessel, which kind of sucks. I may like drive away or something. I don't know. Just something, because I can't really time warp down here very well. But this seems to be creating fairly quickly, which is good. Alright, so the other important thing is we are constructing some batteries and things that is going to make it so that we can extend the construction, or the ability of this to refill itself from the PDUs. And actually run at at a higher capacity. So that's coming. So that is going to become self-sustainable. The important thing is we have all of these habitation modules and everything. The habitation and home sickness time for all of these Kerbals is indefinite. So it's indefinite for everybody in the botany lab. It's indefinite for the people in the supply crawler. It's indefinite for the folks in Duna Central. Because as I can see here, everything within 150 meters is shared in its in their habitation timers. I'm not sure if they share supplies. That would be really awesome also, but they should be able to pass supplies back and forth from what I can tell. I may have to save and time warp a bit just to check that to make sure, but that should be good. So all that's left is for me to finish building these batteries, slap them on, and then put people into their bunks for the duration, and then we can actually move on. How awesome is that? This base is just about built. So I think we are going to leave that there and move on to the next stage. but that is going to have to wait for next episode. So as I was hoping I'd be able to do, I managed to get the next stage and flying off our Frontier cruiser and all of that into episode 100, which will be coming hopefully not in another month, hopefully much sooner than that. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of double length episode that I did here, because I just wanted to get this building done and out of the way, because it has been going on for so long. All my episodes started to kind of seem the same. So if you enjoyed this one, please share and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.